You just got your certification in biohazard remediation. It's not glamorous, but it pays $22 an hour, and you're the guy people call on the worst day of their lives. Suicides, unattended deaths, hoarder houses crawling with things you don't want to think about. You show up in a white Tyvek suit, and you make the nightmare disappear. This is just the beginning. Your company contracts with the county morgue, landlords, and insurance adjusters. You learn things most people never think about. You learn that blood soaks through carpet padding and into the subfloor. You learn that a body left alone for 2 weeks in summer will leave a stain that glows under black light for years. You learn that the human nose can detect decomposition at 2 parts per billion. You become an expert in erasure, making spaces look like nothing ever happened there. You're so good at this that you get promoted to crew lead. You get a company van with your name on the clipboard. You're the one they call at 3 a.m. when a motel owner finds something terrible in room 112. You've seen things that would break most people, but you've learned to see it all as just a job. It's all just biology. It's all just chemistry. It's all just stains. The shift happens on a Tuesday. You get a call from a number you don't recognize. A man with a calm voice says he has a job. Private client. Cash. He mentions a figure that makes you grip the steering wheel tighter. It's more than you make in 2 months. A meeting is set, not at an office. A parking garage downtown, 3rd level, by the stairwell. The man who meets you is wearing a polo shirt and khakis. He looks like someone's accountant. He explains the situation. His employer has a property with a problem. A significant biological problem that needs to disappear before morning. No questions, no paperwork, no receipts. You know what this means. You're not stupid. But you think about your rent. You think about your kids' braces. You think about how you've already seen worse than whatever this is. You take the job. The address is a warehouse on the industrial side of town. When you walk in, you see 2 men standing over a plastic tarp. On the tarp is what used to be a person. There's a lot of red. There's a smell you recognize but have never encountered at this volume. Your stomach lurches, but your training kicks in. You start calculating. Square footage of contamination, penetration depth, time since event. You work until dawn. Enzymatic cleaners, hydroxide solution, steam extraction. You roll up the tarp and load it into your van. You drive to a site the men give you. You don't ask what happens next. 3 days later, an envelope appears under your apartment door. Cash, more than promised, and a burner phone. You save the day. You just became an accessory to murder. You feel sick for a week, but you also pay off your credit cards. You tell yourself it was a one-time thing. The phone buzzes a month later. You do it again and again. Each time, you get more efficient. Each time, the knot in your stomach gets smaller. You learn the real game isn't just about cleaning. It's about making evidence vanish like it never existed in the first place. You become an expert in counter-forensics. You learn that bleach destroys DNA, but leaves its own trace. Hydrogen peroxide is better. You learn that luminol can detect blood even after 20 cleanings, so you use oxidizing agents that create false positives everywhere, making the whole scene useless to investigators. You learn that the police look for patterns, so you never use the same method twice. You stop working for the county. You go freelance. The man in the polo shirt becomes your handler. He calls you the eraser. You get a raise. You get a reputation. The jobs get bigger. A luxury condo in the hills where a deal went wrong. A restaurant freezer that needs to be emptied before the health inspector arrives. A fishing boat that came back lighter than it left. You don't ask questions. You just solve problems. You learn the logistics of disappearance. A human body is 60% water and remarkably fragile when you know where to cut. You learn that a pig farm an hour outside the city will take almost anything. No questions asked. You learn that a crematorium owner with gambling debts is a valuable friend. You learn that the desert is obvious and the ocean is unpredictable, but a construction site with a concrete pour scheduled for the morning is perfect. You build a network, a guy who crushes cars with whatever's in the trunk, a woman who runs a medical waste incinerator and doesn't check manifests too closely, a funeral home director who can add an extra guest to a scheduled cremation. Everyone has a price. For some, it's money. For others, it's favors. For a few, it's fear. You're so good at this that you get promoted. The cartel doesn't call you for single jobs anymore. You're on retainer. You have a team now. 3 guys who don't speak English and never will. They do the heavy lifting. You do the thinking. You live a life you never imagined. You buy a house with a 3-car garage. You buy a watch that costs more than your old van. You have a go bag in the floor safe with $200,000 in cash and 3 clean passports. Your daughter thinks you run a specialized cleaning company. She's not entirely wrong. But you're a prisoner. You know too much. You've seen faces you shouldn't have seen. You've cleaned up messes that would make front-page news if anyone ever found out. You're the man who knows where the bodies are buried because you're the one who buried them. The paranoia becomes your constant companion. You check your car for trackers every morning. You never use the same route twice. You vary your schedule randomly because patterns get people killed. You notice when the same sedan passes your house more than once. You never sit with your back to a door or a window. You see what happens to people who become liabilities. You cleaned up after one of them. He was a driver who got picked up on a traffic stop and said one wrong word to the wrong cop. You found what was left of him in a drainage ditch. The message was clear. You can't talk to anyone. Your ex-wife thinks you've changed. She's right. Your daughter asks why you always seem distracted. You can't tell her that you're calculating escape routes in every room you enter. You can't tell her that the nightmare you have every night is the same one. Men in masks, a plastic tarp, and you're the one on it. Your old life feels like a dream. You'd give anything to be back in that county morgue, filling out paperwork in triplicate, complaining about overtime. You'd give anything to be bored again. The end starts small. A job goes sideways. The scene is in a high-rise apartment, and you don't know that the building has a new security system with cameras in the service elevator. Your face is on a hard drive somewhere. You handle it. You know a guy who knows a guy. The footage disappears, but you had to call in a favor to make it happen, and favors have to be repaid. Then a member of your crew gets picked up on an unrelated charge. He's sitting in county lookup, and you know he's not built for pressure. You make a call. The handler tells you not to worry. The guy is released 48 hours later. He doesn't come back to work. You don't ask why. Then the handler calls with a different tone in his voice. He says the organization is restructuring. He says there are concerns about operational security. He says your name has come up in discussions. You check your go bag that night. You think about running, but you know they're already watching. You know there's nowhere far enough. The meeting isn't at the parking garage. It's at a ranch house in the valley. The man who greets you isn't your handler. He's older. He has gray hair and kind eyes. He offers you a drink and speaks softly, like a doctor delivering bad news. He tells you that you've done excellent work. Invaluable work. The organization is very grateful. He tells you that you're like family. You know what this means. But then he smiles. He says the organization has a problem, a large problem, in another country. They need someone with your particular skills to go there and build a new operation from the ground up. It's a promotion. It's an honor. It's a one-way ticket to a place where you don't speak the language and don't know anyone. He slides an envelope across the table. Inside is a passport with your photo and someone else's name. A plane ticket for tomorrow morning. A phone number to call when you land. You have 12 hours. He says you should say goodbye to your daughter. Tell her you got a job overseas. Tell her you'll video call every Sunday. You look at the envelope. You look at the man. What if I want to stay? You ask. The man's kind eyes don't change, but something behind them does. He says you misunderstand. This isn't a request. This is us taking care of you. The alternative is someone else taking care of you. Do you understand the difference? You understand. You take the envelope. You drive to your daughter's school. You watch her through the fence at recess, laughing with her friends, completely unaware. You don't go in. You can't explain. You just watch until the bell rings and she disappears inside. You go to the airport. You board the plane. You leave everything behind. Your house, your network, your name. You're not a person anymore. You're an asset being relocated. You spent years making people disappear, and now you're the one who's vanishing. Somewhere over the ocean, you realize the truth. You were never the eraser. You were just another mess, waiting to be cleaned up. The plane lands in a city you've never seen. A man is waiting with a sign that has your new name on it. He doesn't smile. He doesn't shake your hand. He just takes your bag and walks toward a black SUV. You follow. What choice do you have? You're the cartel's cleanup guy, and you just learned the final lesson of your trade. Everyone is disposable, especially you.